thank you everyone. I'm Joseph from Hashed. I lead most of the things in Asia, with a particular focus on Southeast Asia. So, I've been leading a lot of game and metaverse and also infra deals at Hashed. Most recently, I did Coin98, which is one of the biggest wallets in Asia with over 5 million users. I led the deal for our network, which is a Cosmos Layer One, and I've also led a lot of gaming deals out of both Asia and also the Western market. So yeah, today I think I'll mostly focus on the current Web3 gaming and NFT landscape in 2023, what we're seeing as VCs, and also what we are kind of recommending to portfolio companies to look into in terms of like go-to-market strategy. So just as an introduction to Hash, we're one of the biggest crypto VCs in Asia. We manage over $1 billion in assets. We have over 300 employees, but a majority of that comes from Unopened, which is our gaming studio. So we have an internal gaming studio within Hash with over 200 game developers from Nexon, come to us, and some of the biggest gaming conglomerates in Korea. We also have a regulatory research group called Hashed Open Research, where we collaborate with the government to carve out more friendly regulation for Korea in terms of cryptocurrency and crypto assets. We also have a emerging market focused VC called Hashed Merchant that is mostly investing in markets like India. And we also have a big focus on application layer gaming, metaverse, and also infra that supports all that. We led and anchored the first rounds of Sandbox, X Infinity, Sky Mavis, Ronin, Decentraland, and Clayton, and much more. So we've always been uh, one of the biggest VCs in the gaming market, at least within the Web3 space. We've also done several studio investments into gaming studios based out of Japan and South Korea as well. Yeah, so to start off, notable funds within the gaming landscape include funds like A16's Games Fund 1, Griffin Gaming, Convoy, Hashed, Animoca, Bitcraft, and Galaxy. And our friends at these VCs, we usually invest together into up and coming games or game studios that are building out different genres of games. It could be battle, it could be FPS, it could be MMORPG, and we usually help these games get onboarded onto L1s. For example, BSC, Avalanche, Solana, Aptos, Arbitrum, Polygon, and Near are some of the most widely utilized blockchains for games, as you all might know very well. So recently, what we see more in Web3 gaming, at least within the VC landscape, but also in terms of user data and research that we do, is that we see hybrid casual and mid-core games arising in terms of genre. So there's more people that are playing casual and mid-core over hyper casual. So hyper casual meaning games like Legos or Paper.io, kind of games that are very easy to play but have low lifetime value for users is on the decline. So based on Liftoff's casual gaming apps report, we see that the hyper casual genre as a whole has declined by over 20% um, since 2021, and Steam and App Store and other distributors and platforms are being dominated by mid-core and hardcore, as well as hybrid casual. And in terms of categorization, we kind of focus on three things at Hashed and also probably other VCs as well, which is AAA, video games that are incredibly high quality but have really big budgets. So games like GTA 5, Elden Ring, and Cyberpunk. So these games usually have a budget of 9 figures in US dollars or more, so $100 million or more. And we also focus on hardcore games, which have like very long sessions, either due to comprehensive stories and battles. So they could have long story modes, or they could have long battle kind of systems within that game to basically have the player play 80, 90 hours to finish the game. And we also look a lot into hybrid casual games, which is basically new genre that evolved from hyper casual. So it's a mix between hyper casual and mid core. So it's basically a hyper casual game that is a little bit more difficult to play, and it takes a much longer time to play. So in the Web3 gaming market, what were tried in the past was basically the standard mixture of NFTs and tokens, right? So you earn tokens via play to earn and own NFTs to play. So for example, X Infinity, you play XC and then you earn tokens, and basically you sell the token in order for you to incentivize yourself for playing the game. And in those games, NFTs are usually the gateway or membership to games. So you need to own the NFT to play the game. You breed the NFT to make your NFT more valuable. And usually we've seen like hyper casual games or turn-based games like XC or Monstera. And we've also seen guild systems and mid-core games that have launched. But a lot of these have not worked over time. So for example, a lot of the guilds are struggling to retain users because the user activity on Web3 games is declining. So we're always kind of figuring out, well, if this didn't work in the past, then what could work in the future, right? So in terms of what we are seeing being tried now in the Web3 gaming space, we see more AAA games coming out to build. So for example, Avalon is a AAA game or MMORPG game that hashed led around 4. They raised $13 million. And EVE Online also raised 8-figure from A16Z and Hash to build like an MMORPG on the blockchain. We also see that independent in-game economics are being tried a lot more. So what this means is that the token is separated from the in-game economics. So buying the token and buying the NFT doesn't contribute directly into in-game performance. So you don't need a token to play the game, nor should you be able to get advantages in the game for owning the token. And we're seeing more sustainable token models being tried out and more non-restrictive NFT models, meaning that you're not required to own an NFT to play the game, but rather having an NFT in the game is more like a cosmetic or a visual addition to your gameplay. And we're seeing more non-play to earn models, non-guild models. We see more publishing models. So there's platforms that used to be guilds before are trying to become publishers or distributors. And we also see a lot of custodial wallet solutions. So when game companies like come to us or Remade, which are very big in Web2 space that have hundreds of millions of users, they come to the blockchain. They don't want their Web2 users downloading MetaMask or downloading Coin98 wallet and basically going to exchange and getting token or NFT. It's a whole long process. So they're integrating custodial wallet solutions whereby users can basically log in with your Google or Apple ID and start playing the game. So there's definitely more demand for custodial wallet solutions for that. And also, we're seeing a lot more like Web3 games that are compatible with Web2 audience and Web2 gaming infra as well. So in terms of like marketing and also community building for both Web2 and Web3, in Web2, you focus more on performance marketing. You calculate like the cost of marketing versus the user acquisition cost, and you calculate the average revenue per user. Then you have a much more mathematical way of judging whether the game is becoming successful and profitable or not. And you determine whether the game needs to be retired and a new game needs to be launched based on the level of profit that it is generating. And you do this normally through like advertisements on social media or Google or Facebook. You do trailers, you do influencers, and you press, and you basically judge the game's success purely based on user metrics. But on the Web3 side, you have a large subset of Web3 high net worth users that you need to target through NFT ownership, and you trickle down from there, right? So instead of targeting millions and millions of mainstream users, in Web3 you target high net worth users that are willing to buy your NFT first, and then from there you begin to target other users. And you're incorporating NFTs so that users that hold the NFTs are contributing to the in-game economy, and you're building with the community rather than just completing the game and putting the game out there. And I think that's the biggest differentiation between Web2 and Web3, building with the community. And also Web3 games are usually governed by DAOs in a decentralized process. So I think one of the major mistakes that we see that are being made in Web3 gaming and NFT market is that Web2 teams try to launch the finished product first and build a community from there. So they just, spend like 8 months, 9 months building their product, and then they go to the market and like, here's our game. But then usually the community doesn't react to that, at least in Web3. They want to see how the game is built from scratch. They want to see raw visual assets. They want to see the sketches of the game and building the game, behind the scenes content, and the game is being built out, the beta, alpha, season 1, season 2, season 3, and Web3 users and community react much better to that kind of system of launching. So in Web3, I feel like building with a community is much more important than just shipping out a great finished product. And examples of this are Treeverse and Illuvium. So the game of Treeverse have not launched yet, which is a mobile MMORPG on the blockchain, but then the NFT price of NFT trees remains at 8 ETH, which is one of the highest floor price for games. And the fully diluted valuation of Illuvium's token remains around 500 million, and the game hasn't launched yet. But both of these games have done a wonderful job in building together with the community, sharing the progress every week, so that it feels like the users in the community in Web3 are building together with them. It feels like the users are a part of the gaming studio, building out the content, providing active and real-time feedback, and that's the most powerful thing about Web3. So in terms of go-to-market, we feel that sharing raw visual assets, you don't need to. So it's oftentimes much more effective to share 1 second, 2 second, 3 second videos or screenshots or visual assets on a daily basis or every 2 days over spending $100,000-$200,000 to build out this amazing trailer and ship it out once every month. Because in this kind of era of digital content, the attention span of users is very short, and they react the same way to seeing 1 second content versus 1 minute content. So sharing raw visual assets is important because it shows progress and that allows games to build with the community. And this is the same with NFT projects as well. So then the first question becomes like, does performance marketing work in Web3 because it's such a prevalent tool in Web2? So we have not seen many teams with a strong Web2 gaming background try performance marketing very well in Web3. Performance marketing meaning that you run Facebook ads, you run Google ads, you run many different kind of ads, and you calculate how much the advertisement costs compared to the revenue that you're bringing in from your users, and then you judge the game from there. Digidaigaku is the first game to do this, I think, in Web3, and also D Labs, which is a game out of South Korea, founded by the CEO of Nexon. Performance marketing could theoretically work if you can bring on Web2 users into Web3, but that is hard because of the wallet problem. So if games can integrate non-custodial wallet solutions and allow users to log in with their Google or Apple ID, then performance marketing could work. And actually, more VCs in crypto are betting on that. Web3 games that do very good in performance marketing and bringing it up to users could win. So this is one trend that we're seeing. And the second trend that we're seeing is we're definitely beginning to observe a lot more like sensible tokenomics models that are coming out. And when we say a sensible tokenomic, we're thinking a model that is not inflationary, a model that does not interfere with in-game economics, meaning that even if you own a lot of rare NFTs, even if you own a lot of tokens, you cannot get a competitive advantage within the game. And League of Legends is a very good example of this, right? So people spend a lot of money on the skins, and the game actually generates a lot of revenue and profit, but buying the skin doesn't give you any competitive advantage within the game. So it keeps both the spenders happy because they can show off to their friends that I own this really expensive NFT or the expensive skin, but then the users that are not spending money is also happy because spending money doesn't change how you play the game. Um, we also are looking into models that generate the revenue back to token and NFT holders. So instead of token and NFT becoming a tool to increase your gameplay advantage, we feel like token and NFT have to become a tool that gives you profit sharing to the game if the game does well. And that's something that Treeverse have done really well, which is they promoted NFT trees as an NFT that brings profit back to their NFT holders, and that's very powerful. And we also feel like a game that is not influenced by the price of the token, i.e., the amount of users, the amount of money that users earn shouldn't be affected by how much the token price is right now. Because as long as the revenue of the user is connected to the price of the token, whenever the token price goes down, it increases the risk of having a downside spiral, right? So ultimately, a model that is sustainable over the long term, even during the times that the games do well, or even during the times the games do bad, the game should be sustainable. So in terms of go-to-market, we always tell our portfolio companies that it is important to do all these 8 things very well in order for the game to succeed. The first one is at least some level of performance marketing. In order to convert Web2 users to Web3, you need to be able to do Facebook ads, Google ads, spend some money. You go to game forums, game news sites, and attract and market your games somehow to these users. Number 2 is advertising. So this could be magazines, this could be billboards, this could be conferences. We feel like gaming conferences are often very effective into increasing the brand awareness. And the third is influencers. Um, Influencers is a little bit of a tricky one because usually what works best with influencers is that you don't pay them any money, you don't give them any of your token, you don't give them any of your NFT, but the content of the game is so good that you tell influencers, you DM the influencers, this is what we built, what do you think about it? And then they just organically share because they love the game. That is like the best kind of influencer. And definitely this works if your game is good and your tokenomics is very genuine. So you don't always need to spend a lot of money on influencers. You can always reach out to influencers that are legit, that are organic, that are not swayed by, you know, let's say bribes. And you tell them this is what we built. We're very genuine about it. Let's catch up for a call. And those influencers are willing to share some of the content. And number 4, what I feel like is the most important is continuously sharing a lot of content. I feel like quantity of content when it comes to marketing in social media in Web3 is more important than quality. So sharing behind the scenes content where the developer is explaining how they built this phase of the game, how they built this map of the game, how they built this character. All these things doesn't have to be very high quality. It doesn't have to be a trailer that you see on YouTube channel of Riot Games. It could be a very simple AMA. It could be a very simple video shot with your phone to explain how things were done in an office setting. And that is well accepted by the Web3 community. Trailers could be something of like 10 to 20 seconds where it can be a very simple recording of the in-game gameplay, so that people can see that it is a real game, it's playable, and this is how the game aesthetics look like. Game footages of people playing the game, oftentimes you can bring a lot of credibility to your game by setting up computers at conferences and letting people play that, and then taking videos of people playing that and uploading it on social media. Then it shows 2 things. The first is that your game is playable and is legit, and the second thing is people are willing to play your game without earning money from it, because they're going to conference, they're very organic, and they're playing the game, right? And the last thing is like highlights of the gameplay played by other users in competitions and etc. And number 5 could be hosting competitions through different platforms, but also just on YouTube. You could attract a lot of users in Southeast Asia by hosting competitions of just a few $100s, and you could probably get hundreds of users to play that game, right? And you can take a video of that, you can upload that. And number 6 is airdrops. And airdrops sometimes have this negative connotation because people say, if you do airdrops, then your token gets dumped and all these things. But and this is something that Web2 entrepreneurs really struggle to understand in Web3. Airdrops is the easiest and the most straightforward way to gain virality in crypto. And I think that entrepreneurs should look into airdrops more and study what Blur did, study what Arbitrum did, and once you understand that airdrop is the key to virality, then you begin to understand that I can plan these kind of airdrop campaigns to actually gain the attention and attraction of many users in Web3. And lastly, you have distribution platforms like Steam and streaming platforms like Twitch and TikTok and YouTube Shorts, where you can distribute your content in an easier way, in a cheap way. So at the end of the day, I think that Web3 is keeping the balance between building with the public and scaling your user base, user numbers, but always keeping the community guessing on what is coming next, whether it's a new game mode, or new NFT drop, or new merchandise drop. You have to drive speculation, you have to drive curiosity, and you have to drive imagination. And you're competing against many other gaming teams or NFT teams that are extremely creative in the way that they build a community. So you have to play the part, and you need to always drive the curiosity and imagination of users that you're targeting. So some of the projects that we're quite excited about for different reasons, I'll share some. The first is Avalon. We led this deal. It's like a cyberpunk style MMORPG. The reason why we're excited about this game is they're not just building an MMORPG, but they're building an MMORPG ecosystem whereby other people can come in and create different games within this MMORPG ecosystem. So think of it as like you have a Diablo, and inside a Diablo you can create other mini bosses, mini games, mini contents, and that's what Avalon is building. So oftentimes I feel like entrepreneurs come into Web3 gaming, they build out a great game, and they're like, here it is, it's a great game. We have this game, please love us. But I think the Web3 gaming space is getting so competitive that you need something on top of that. That could be user-generated content. It could be building some infra. But I think that something extra or something additional than just a good game is very important in Web3. So D-Labs is a racing game that is being built by the former CEO of Nexon. We just recently decided to invest in them. And D-Labs is a studio of 3 different games, and they're mainly focused on mid-core. So currently they're building like a kart rider game for Web3 users. And D-Labs is a bit unique because they're doing performance marketing, and they're doing Web3 community, and they're doing NFT, but at the same time, they are building out at least 3 games under the studio. So it's a studio deal, and usually studio deals are better accepted by Web3 VCs. And the other game is called Apeiron from Hong Kong, and Apeiron is like think of it as like a Mobile Legends kind of game where you're fighting with other users with the characters that you grow through a god mode. So you are growing your character through like a Tamagotchi kind of game mode, and then from that you're fighting with other users, and it's a very well built out game. And lastly, we have a gaming studio called BGV out of Singapore, and their vision is to create a big studio where it acquires other smaller studios in Southeast Asia, and they build out the IP, and then they build out many games with other studios as well. So they're basically building a studio ecosystem out of Southeast Asia. So going through all these games and projects and teams that we just saw, what can Web3 solve in the realm of gaming, right? So other than just NFT tokens, what can Web3 actually do for gaming? And I think it's 3 things. The first thing is decentralized governance. So I think that decentralized governance is a very important thing in gaming because you want to empower users to make some core decisions for the game. You want the users to decide, where the game is going, what kind of direction, what kind of mini game will be built out. And I think decentralized governance is very important for that. The second thing is ownership. So we see that users are willing to spend a lot of money on skins, League of Legends, CS:GO, but users actually never own that. Um, and NFTs provide a way for users to fully own the items that they have, and that's a very powerful component of Web3. And lastly, a transparent in-game economy that is dictated by the DAO and decentralized governance. So all these things kind of go together. Yeah. So um, lastly, I think what investors are looking for in Web3 gaming from VC's point of view is that we're looking more into AAA, casual hybrid, mid-core, and hardcore game genres, with the hyper casual not doing so well lately. The second thing is we're looking for sustainable tokenomics that makes sense. Not tokenomics that will do well over the next year, but tokenomics that could do well over the next 5 years, 10 years time. The third is we're looking for innovative NFT models whereby NFT is just it's not limited to being a membership to the game, but rather NFTs that reward users. This could be royalty NFTs, it could be profit sharing NFTs, all these things. We're looking for stronger Web2 game developers for sure, because we've seen a lot of games not able to finish building the game for a long time already. And number 5 is we're looking for entrepreneurs with a very strong understanding of Web3 community building. So do they understand what Web3 community reacts to, what the Web3 NFT audience likes, what the Web3 gaming audience likes? All these things are very important. And the 6th is, do these entrepreneurs have a strong enough knowledge in airdrops, what brings virality in Web3, NFT drops, and other strategies that would otherwise make sense? And lastly, investors are also looking for more deals on the studio side. So not just a token with a game, but they want to invest in companies and teams that have exposure to many other games in the future if the first game does well. So yeah, that's basically it.
All right. Thank you so much, Joseph. We have a few minutes for Q&A. Are there any questions from the audience?
Great presentation, by the way. I just got an email from Eat Global. They are planning to have a contest of fully on-chain gaming on the Mud engine. Yeah, and I see some game called Muddy Forest, also fully on-chain game. So my question would be, what is your opinion on fully on-chain game? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Hashed also recently invested in a fully on-chain game, and we are quite optimistic about fully on-chain games for a few reasons. The first is that it is composable, so you can connect that on-chain game into other DeFi or other blockchain-related applications, and they interact with each other. And there's just so many things that you could do, because ultimately, when everything is on-chain, you could connect that game into yield farming, you connect that game into lending, you connect that game into NFT marketplace. There's so many things that possibilities open up. But the biggest problems that we've seen so far is that it's really difficult to make an on-chain game fun, because there's only a certain point of storage that you can store on-chain. So if people could develop on-chain games that are actually fun to play, other than just a turn-based game, but actual games that are lightweight enough to bring fun but can be stored on-chain, I think that is definitely a winning strategy as well. And I can say that because there's so much focus from VCs on ZK and privacy nowadays, there's also a lot of demand for ZK and privacy-related on-chain games. And I think that's also an area that could be explored.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any other question? Okay, over here.
Hello, thank you for a nice presentation. I wanted to ask about the guilds. So what is the incentivization if we're moving from play and earn games to play and have fun Web3 games? Where do the guilds then, what is their incentive to have players playing? Is it like for for marketing of the game, or what? If they're not playing to earn money?
Yeah, so obviously I'm not very bullish on guilds. I never was, and I think we need to kind of move away from the guild system for sure. And a lot of the guilds, whether it's like YG or Merit Circle, they're always doing different things. They're trying to evolve from the guild system. For me personally, I've been speaking to quite a lot of esports organizations lately, and I think the guild model, so to say, that makes sense in Web3 is basically uniting like esports teams, let's say like Gen G or Flash or T1 in Korea, and creating NFTs around it, and involving the massive fan base that they have, millions of users. For example, Flash Esports is the biggest esports team in Southeast Asia. They have 3.3 million community members. So by using independent esports teams and their fan bases, it could quickly add up to 10 to 50 million users, and you can use that user base to bring into the game. And instead of making a play to earn, what you can do is, if the users come play the game, then you can do revenue split between the users, the esports teams in the game. So I think that kind of like a clan system, whereby you are directly sharing the revenue of the game with the users that are coming into the game, makes more sense. And I definitely like to see more guilds doing that. But currently, a lot of the guilds are kind of focusing on developing like distribution platforms, like Web3 Steam. But I would like to see guilds work more on that, on connecting esports fans and esports to Web3 games.
I want to expand on that. Not expand. I kind of expand on the question just now because you mentioned about competitive esports. Because my guild itself, we raise this seed round and we basically focus on that. But the thing is, I think we also talk to traditional esport team. I think everyone are kind of facing a industry-wide situation where esport right now is just not profitable and it's very unsustainable for us to continue business. So, do you have any like suggestion that how we could basically solve like the situation we are in right now, or what are the way we can monetize? Because like a lot of like traditional method like running through sponsorship and stuff doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, so I think because some of my best friends are the owners of esports teams, so I always look a lot into this. It's something that I'm very passionate about. And one model that I recently proposed to my friend, who's an owner of one of the biggest esports teams, was you could create like an NFT for the esports team that you have, and create a clan system around it, whereby whenever a Web3 game approaches you, then you can involve your 3 million community members to play that game, and of course it will generate a lot of revenue, right? So the half of the game revenue can go back to the community members that you brought in, and from the esports team's side, they benefit from a few things. First is the NFT sale, the NFT royalty, and the NFT volume. So I think that's one way, and I think the second way is there's just been a lot of like bubble in the esports scene, where because a lot of the esports teams in the Western market is spending so much money, that kind of trend has come to Asia as well, where esports teams are spending a lot of money. And I think one way to combat that also is to decrease the money that esports teams are spending on individual esports players and content creators. And the way to do that is for them to have their own independent NFTs as well, so that they can monetize their own brand outside of the esports team that they're working with as well. So yeah, so those are some of the things that I'm also kind of, let's say, researching and trying to figure out as well.
Cool. That was really helpful, Joseph. I think we ran out of time for the Q&A. Thank you so much, Joseph, for the very insightful session. Please give your hand together for Joseph.